Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit next to me, no touching. I don't do the touching. So basically, Louis van Gaal has spoken out about his time at Manchester United. And it's a very damning interview if you're Ed Woodward. Basically, this is nothing we didn't know already. It's not a great time to be a Manchester United fan. I think it's an absolutely frightening time because I see our club imploding. I see our club being relegated in the next few years, and I just don't see a happy ending for us. We have no one in the boardroom who has a clue how to run a football club. We have appointed an inexperienced ex-player as our manager, and as much as I love him, I'm absolutely frightened to the very core. So I'm going to read to you this article because I think it's important. Now, Louis van Gaal, while at Manchester United, came across as a madman, a supervillain. I'll be honest, and before he came to United, I was a big fan. He wrote the blueprint to the Ajax youth system, the legendary Ajax youth system. So before he came, I was a big fan, and when I heard he was coming, I thought all our problems would be over. So should we give this a read? Louis van Gaal, I thought Manchester United could buy every player. United's former manager on Rooney tactics, why the club too commercial and being very surprised at Solskjaer's appointment. You're not the only one. The Guardian sat down with Louis van Gaal at Nordwit's Grand Hotel, who is to doing, whatever that says, 3 years since his dismissal by Manchester United. Jamie Jackson, this is Jamie Jackson, the interviewer, did you feel betrayed because Manchester United wanted you to do 3 years, then one day after you won the FA Cup final, they turned around and said goodbye? Louis van Gaal, at that moment I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed because what I hear from a lot of people is it was already done in December. January I spoke every week with the Executive Vice Chairman, Ed Woodward. After 3 lousy defeats in December, when we also went out of the Champions League, I have spoken with him and I said, I can understand that you sack me. In a club like Manchester United, you cannot lose 3 times in a row. Then he said, no, never. I never shall fire you. Believe in yourself. Don't read the papers. I think then you can feel betrayed. But now I can better understand because he knew that the next year I would say goodbye. On the market was Jose Mourinho. He is also a very good manager. And Woodward thought that he had secured for Manchester United's Mourinho's top managerial level for years. How was your relationship with Jose Mourinho? I can imagine that Mourinho wants the chair of manager of Manchester United because it's, in my opinion, the highest chair in England. Before I signed for Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur was here in my living room. Mr. Levi, I could sign also for Tottenham Hotspur, and I have said to my wife that Tottenham had the better selection squad than Manchester United. But I chose United for the challenge and because I have always managed the number 1 club in the country. There's no hard feelings with Mourinho? No hard feelings. What is the problem at Manchester United? The problem begins with of course, that Manchester United was never refreshed. I think when you are a manager, you have to refresh every year to keep the team building process going. You brought in players, you tried to refresh. Yes, but I didn't always get the players that I want. That's the problem. There is Woodward and his right hand is head of the corporate development. Matt Judge. Judge I met once in a while, but not too much. And there was the head of scouting. That was the structure, but you are always dependent on Woodward and Judge. Did they not take your advice? I thought always Manchester United can buy every player because they have a lot of power. Seemingly a few players were not reachable for Manchester United. I cannot understand, but it was like that. Angel Di Maria, was he your choice? Di Maria was my choice at AZ 7 years before. He didn't sign then. Did you want him for United? Were you happy that he came? I was satisfied because he was a creative player, but I had other players on the list. Di Maria had a problem with the English football culture and the climate. You cannot buy players and know for sure that they can deliver. You cannot know because football is a team sport. Where did he want to play? I always ask a player where he wants to play. For him, it was a wing wide and mostly left. In the Argentinian team, he plays on the left. I started with him there. he was not performing that well to a level you could expect from an 80 million player. I believe then I have to see if another position is better for him. I have played him left winger, as the 10, second striker and on the right. Then the critics say he's having to play in too many positions. I gave him all the chances that there were to perform well. Do you have any regrets about your time with Manchester United? No. The way they sacked me was terrible, but I like my team in England because of the culture, because of the people, a lot of the humour, always supporting the manager. Really? I have respect for everybody I worked with. Who was the best player you had there? I think David De Gea has done fantastically. Okay, outfield player. This is significant that I have to think a lot. Luke Shaw was starting very well, but he was kicked out badly injured by PSV. Shaw was above average. Ander Herrera was above average. He started not so well, but he became more important for the team because of his inspiring behaviour and coaching qualities. I think that overall, Daley Blind was my most consistent player with the high qualities of building up the play. With high qualities, a quality player with a lot of creativity, and I was very happy with him because we had a big lack of creative players. That's why we played that. In your eyes, boring football. We did not have too many creative players to increase the tempo of the ball and to use more vertical players. But it was better than parking the bus, I think. We played their points to the opposition half. We were mostly always better than our opponents. But when your opponent is parking the bus, you need creative players. That's why I allowed Di Maria and Memphis Depay to come, because they were creative players. And I think a team needs at least 3 or 4 creative players to break down those opponents. I'm sorry, but he was over the hill. But in spite of that, he was one of my best players. He's talking about Rooney. Was it difficult to make Rooney captain? Was he really the only choice? You can say nothing about his professionalism as a player in the training session or on the pitch outside the environment of the training pitch, and the stadium is different. I made him my captain because I want to control that life outside. Interesting. Give him responsibility. I think we don't succeed totally. You said you don't understand why United have a lot of money and won't always pay for players. Is that because the Glazers didn't want to pay? I don't know. Woodward is the only one who talks with the Glazers. I only talk with the Glazers when they were attending a game of training session. Mostly they attend top matches. Unfortunately, we won a lot of these top matches in any case against Liverpool. Another quote by him: Manchester United need a manager with experience, not a manager who has trained at 1 or 2 teams and on a lower level. He's right. He is right. What does it take to be a perfect technical director or director of football? First of all, you need knowledge of the game, methods of training, preparation, experience, youth education, scouting, and you have to think in structures. So you need a lot of experience in the football world. When you are in your profession as a technical director, you have developed a name. Then you have a big network, and you can always make use of that network. One person United are interested to become technical director is Rio Ferdinand. What do you think about this? He was a good player, obviously. As a good player, you're not a good manager. You're not a good technical director. It's more or less what is happening now with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ex-players, old boys network. It's not always a good choice. It can be, but it's not always a good choice. Were you surprised that Solskjaer was given the job permanently? I was very surprised. He's got it in spite of the winning run at the start. Why? Because Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world that needs a manager with experience and not a manager who has trained at 1 or 2 teams and on a lower level. Pep Guardiola went straight into Barcelona after managing the Barcelona B team. He was very successful. There are always exceptions, and he played as a central midfielder at the highest level, a position where you need tactical orientation, and he was my captain. You've got a philosophy of playing football. Your Ajax team, Barcelona, AZ, and Bayern Munich. Do United have one, would you say? When I was accepting the job, we never spoke about the system Manchester United played with or about a philosophy. Is that a surprise? Yes, it was different with the other clubs. I've always spoken about that. When you won the Champions League with Ajax in '95, was playing as a team key. All my teams are really teams. I think also United played like a team. When your head is already cut off and you can inspire the players still to play the football or play the style that you want to play. We've always played the same system, but with other accents depending on the opponent. If you had a blank canvas, how long would it take to sort United? The trouble is that you cannot demand so much time, and the fans do not allow that. Also with Solskjaer, that they shall demand, in spite of him being an ex-player in the football world, you have to deliver. However, as an ex-player, you always have more credit. Is it impossible then to succeed in these big clubs at United? I remember your first press conference, you basically said it's too much commercial, this club. I'm happy that you remember that. I think you have to change the structure in the organisation of Manchester United, because now I think the balance between the football department and the commercial department is not right, and even slopes over to the commercial. What do you mean by that? What I have experienced is that I must go to the USA before the season, and we have to play a lot of matches in short time. That is a good commercial preparation, but not the best for me as a football manager. Everybody was happy except me, because in the USA we won everything, but the first match in the league was a loss. Swansea, that is because every player was exhausted. When you have to start like that, that's not good. In scouting players, Manchester United don't have organisation to deliver the best players, in my opinion. Then, with the education of players, you cannot say that the education of Manchester United is very good. How many players are coming through? Right, here's a quote. We were not defending, we were looking for tactical solutions adapted to the level of our players. With Manchester United, you have a fantastic performance department that is under the guidance of the doctor. That this performance of department needs also the guidance of an experienced technical director. You have to use that department not only for the first team, but also intensively for the youth education. Then younger players are more educated in the philosophy of Manchester United, and the big step to the first team is much easier. These are important aspects that you have to develop as a technical director. Right, where are we? I saw a Manchester United manager that the quality of players of City, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal was better. So what can I do? We were attacking, we were not defending, and we were looking for tactical solutions adapted to the level of our players. For example, we were provoking space, and that was new in England. I think 6 months ago, Jurgen Klopp has also seen the light, because in the former days he was also pressing, always pressing. How do you provoke space? I have tried, because of the speed of Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford, to provoke the space by not pressing immediately, but to come a little back, not parking the bus, but to the middle line, and then the defenders halfway in our own half. Only with AZ did I do that before. Also, because of the lower level of my players, and of course I adapt to the quality of my players, you have to see it. Because I didn't have the best quality of players, they cannot perform the system to attack. For example, when Liverpool have to attack constantly, they have a problem. More problem than, for example, Manchester City. Why? Because Salah, Firmino and Mane need bigger space than Aguero, Sane and Sterling. And also the creativity in City's midfield is higher with De Bruyne. David Silva, Fernandinho and Bernardo Silva, they can play in small space. That's why City are champions. Can you tell me the favourite player you've managed? Not the best, but someone you really enjoyed working with. Luis Figo, he's a winner. He was always there in training, on the pitch, in a game. Luis Enrique, these kinds of players I like the most because they are very open for you, but also winners. And on the pitch, they speak. And your best memory from your career? The most exciting moment in football was not on the bench. It was on the canals of Amsterdam. The Champions League win. That was fantastic. More than 1 million people along the canals. Old people from the windows. Fantastic. And that is a fantastic interview from a very, very intelligent, knowledgeable footballing man. Now, you can sit there and say he did this wrong at United, that wrong at United. If he had so many bad players, why didn't he replace them? He's trying to insinuate he couldn't. So I think that's a wonderful situation. What he says about the commercial situation is what everyone is saying. We're all saying it, YouTubers, pundits. We're too focused on commercial. We go and do these big tours. We're knackered by the time the season starts. How are we supposed to be competitive? It's ridiculous. We have a massive problem at Manchester United because not only do we have to build a world-class team, we need a world-class structure behind the scenes. So you're looking at rebuilding a team and rebuilding behind the scenes. And another question, why haven't Manchester United announced the director of football yet? I do not understand this. Nobody signed any players yet. I get that. Fair enough. But where's our director of football? He's not around. We haven't seen him. He hasn't been announced. Why? These are big question marks at the club. And these are things that are really worrying me. I've been talking about Manchester United basically collapsing for a while now. Relegation really worries me. I think we're looking like an Aston Villa who were relegated. And we're looking at a Manchester United of the 70s that were relegated. I don't see a good ending because the Glazers are going nowhere, right? Woodward is going nowhere. Solskjaer is going nowhere. I hope, beyond all hope, that someone comes to their senses and talks to Maurizio Pochettino. It's a pipe dream, I know. But I don't know. But as a Manchester United fan, that interview worries me a great deal. And it should worry you too.